Go ahead.
All right. Well, welcome to this Mujeres Power Talk panelist session portion of the day. And welcome to our wonderful, amazing 3 successful Latina professionals who are our panelists. And they're going to tell their personal story of empowerment and success through a question and answer panel format. So we all think it's really important to hear one another's stories, to support each other, because we're all learning and growing together on life's journey. And we hope that listening to these 3 different career paths of these 3 outstanding Latinas will help you to follow your dreams, everyone that's with us today, and maybe overcome any limitations and achieve some goals that you might have and will inspire you. So we all want to be the best version of ourselves, right? And success looks differently for each of us. And our hope is to create like this connection through this Mujeres Power Talk session today. So I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Claudia Mills. So Claudia Balthasar Mills is the Director of Inclusion and Diversity and Equity at Altria. And Altria is a founding member of the Virginia Hispanic Chamber. And this is Claudia develops and she implements inclusion and diversity within Altria and equity strategies that are central to helping Altria achieve its 10-year vision of responsibly leading the transition of adult smokers to non-combustible future. So field sales was Claudia's launching pad to her successful 21-year career with Altria. She's led large organizations and enterprise initiatives through her vast experience in roles including senior management for sales communications, district sales manager, national trade marketing manager, as well as unique project work with Philip Morris International. Claudia is a Young Hispanic Corporate Achievers TM Award recipient, and she's also the co-founder and chair of C, Altria's Hispanic Employee Resource Group, who does great work in the community, I know for a fact, which focuses on leveraging Hispanic talent to be strategic thinking partners for Altria. She earned a bachelor's degree from Marshall School of Business Entrepreneur Program at the University of Southern California. And Claudia is passionate about her community storytelling and helping others achieve their full potential. And among her proudest roles are being a wife and mother. And I know that can be the hardest role a lot of times too. So welcome, Claudia.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
And now we move to our second panelist of this evening. We have with us Shirley Mongelos, and she is a Latino market manager for New York Life Insurance Company. Shirley was born in Paraguay, South America. She's a single mom of 2 amazing boys. She attended the University National of Asunción Law School from 1995 to 1999. In 1999, she was the youngest woman to represent Paraguay to the United Nations in New York, meeting about women's rights. In 2000, she moved to the United States as a diplomat and worked at the Consulate of Paraguay for 7 years. In 2017, after being a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, got divorced and started a new life and a new career as an agent at the New York Life Baltimore office. In February of 2017, she got promoted to Latino Market Manager at the Northern Virginia office. In this new role, she's honored to have the opportunity to make an impact in the Hispanic community. Thank you, Shirley, today for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored for the invitation. Thank you.
And I would like to introduce Raquel Boris. And Raquel is the Chief Excitement Officer and owner of True to You Branding, Marketing, and Advertising. So her passion is to help you bring to life a personal brand that is true to you. And I know I need that. Raquel's expertise in social media and branding started with LinkedIn, where she studied other media moguls and influencers. And because of her love of people and talent for audience engagement, which it's high, I can tell you, her social media presence continues to increase very quickly. So Raquel believes that bringing valuable content, authenticity, and vulnerability to your social media is the key to gaining a strong following and presence. And so we're so glad to have you here, Raquel. And thank you so much for participating.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it.
Yay. So we'll start with our questions for the panelists. I think Sandra, you'll go ahead and get us started, right?
Perfect. Yes, definitely. And again, thank you everyone for being here today with us. And I would like to start with Claudia. Claudia, could you share with us your personal story on following up your dreams and making them a reality within your chosen career path?
Sure. So I will tell you that I've kind of stumbled into this career. I am an immigrant. I was born in Mexico. I was smuggled into the country by my parents. And I grew up in Southern California. My mom had this vision that, her children would get a great education, which I did. But beyond getting a great education, I wasn't sure where my path would lead me. Obviously, I graduated from the entrepreneur program, like you said, Lisa, and my dream was to own my own business. But didn't realize that you would need significant capital to start a business, at least back then. And so I would say, turn away my aversion to corporate America, and I started in corporate America. After graduating a year after college, one of my girlfriends really kind of pulled me into what was Philip Morris USA at the time. And I honestly believe that this was a short time that I'd spend here. I was going to get 2 years of experience and then move on. But I fell in love with the people. And I really appreciated the investment that they made in me, developing me. So I, pursued the established career path for sales, which was, great for me. When you're young and you don't know what your career path looks like or what you want to do, it's fantastic to have a company that has a clear career path for people like me at the time. But as I grew in my career and I really started to develop and acknowledge my strengths, one of the things that I was passionate about was helping other Latinas and Latinos in my organization thrive. And so that's where we really put effort into starting our Hispanic Employee ERG. And I say that because that is what propelled me into the space that I'm in now, which is diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have passion for this area. And I would say that, when I think back, really kind of leaning in and following my passion, which was to help others, is what gave me the advantage to be recognized and given the opportunity to lead in this space now. So that's kind of how I ended up in this amazing area, where I get to spend my days not only helping the people that I wanted to help, but others that really want to thrive and pursue their careers and feel included and be seen and heard. So yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that you were from Mexico. I believe Raquel is from Mexico too.
Like Mexico.
Yeah, that's great that I heard a quote once and they say that Latinos are resilient and they try to succeed and they do what they can. And it's amazing to see people like you that succeed. Shirley, tell us your story. Tell us how do you follow your dreams and make them a reality within your chosen career path?
Oh my goodness. So my journey started 20 years ago. I was only 23 when I came to New York. I didn't know anybody. And I can tell you the one thing is I came with 2 suitcases full of dreams. So my inspiration growing up were always my parents. My father is a big dreamer. He always told me, hey, the bigger you dream, the better. So, and my mom being a strong woman, she always fought for women's rights. And they were my inspiration. And like I said, I came to the country very little English. And I didn't even know before I left Paraguay. I'm from Asunción, Paraguay. Before I left my country, I applied for a job at the consulate, but I said I'm not gonna wait. So I came a few months before that. I was brave. I was young and brave, and I was always a dreamer. So I came and thank God I got the job, and I worked in New York for 7 years. I was there for 9/11. It was a tough time. But following that, and I met my ex-husband, and I got married, and I had my children. And at the time was just for me the time to stay home and raise my kids, right? So that was a big period of my time, 10 years of my life where I fully dedicated to my family. But I always wanted to keep working. I miss being with people. I miss challenging myself. I always consider, I don't think I'm smart, but I'm creative. So I needed to develop my creativity. So when it came to a period of time where some changes were happening in my life, and I was getting divorced and became a single parent, right? And it was a big challenging time because I needed to find a job. Uh, my experience was being a stay-at-home mom and diplomat didn't really help big time here, right? And that's kind of by accident. I ended up in this career that I'm so passionate about now. What drove me to this career at the beginning was the flexibility, because I needed to be with my kids, and the potential to make good money. That's what originally drove me to this. And again, I never worked in sales. I never did any of that, but I went, and I remember driving in Baltimore by this big building, glass building. And I was actually leaving another job interview, which it didn't go well because I didn't feel the connection with the company. It wasn't that serious. I was literally crying, driving on the expressway, and I see this big building, and on top of it said New York Life. And I said, I'm gonna get a job there. And it's funny because nowadays I'm a recruiter, but at the time I recruited New York Life, you know? So it was kind of an accident, but everything happened for a reason. I ended up interviewing, and everything went well. And it was challenging, of course, getting divorced, going through all that, but I found amazing people. New York Life became my family. My kids became part of my journey. They were coming to all the events, and I was doing a lot of marketing events, so they were a big part of my journey with New York Life. And then I found mentors, and my passion really truly now is keep learning from my mentors. And sometime in the near future, I want to be a mentor for other agents and other managers at the company. So that's kind of my story.
And that's wonderful. I mean, different paths, different transitions. Sometimes we plan and we don't always get the same the result, but we adjust, right? That's true. Raquel, what about you?
So I like to say that I'm a late bloomer because I actually kind of did everything a little bit backwards. At least that's how I see it, but it happens for a reason. So I grew up very differently in the sense that I grew up extremely privileged. My mom is from Mexico, but she came over because my dad and her met in Mexico. He was becoming a doctor. So she came over and was a stay-at-home mom. And like I said, very privileged, private school, all of that. I didn't really feel the stigma of being a Latina as a child, and Spanish was my first language. We'd go to Mexico every year. And I just kind of, I didn't have that struggle. So I didn't have that fire in me, to be honest. I feel like it's people that really have gone through certain struggles that really ignites kind of the fuel in them. And I didn't have that until later. So it wasn't until I got married at age 24, had my first child at 25 and was a stay-at-home mother. And then I get divorced at 35. So once I got divorced and realized I needed to work, I literally started from the ground up. So I was a hostess. I taught yoga, cycle. I was a receptionist. I mean, I did everything because I never had a career prior to being married. I really didn't picture my future when I was young, to be honest. And so I just kind of stumbled into the builder industry. And then from there in the mortgage industry, but within the mortgage industry, they created roles for me, being that I was fluent in Spanish.
and Latina, I actually was now part of like their multicultural lending. And I helped create a Hispanic division for one of the mortgage companies. We all knew that marketing, there still isn't a lot of great marketing for the for the Latino community, let's be honest. So I was helping with that. And then I just luckily had bosses that saw the strengths in me, and I love people, and I just kind of naturally was really good on social media. And so I ended up being a brand manager for a mortgage company. And it just got to the point where, let's be honest too, female Latina in the mortgage industry, I kind of felt it was my time to be my own boss and do my own thing and be able to serve anybody and everybody when it comes to personal branding and social media. So that's here at age 45, just started my own business right before the pandemic. But I'm really passionate about what I do. And, like I said, it took a little bit later in life, but hey, everyone's journey is different.
I think life is always like a puzzle almost,
Yes.
and then the pieces start coming together that you don't expect.
Exactly.
And then you go, okay, that's I get it. This is how I was supposed to be here, and go through that before I got here. So I kind of feel like that. And I still kind of feel like, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? I could be many things. So we have the next question Sandra and I thought would interest everyone listening today was like, what inspired you to take action like in this chosen career? I think there's always like a moment where it's okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like for me, I was telling you earlier, how I married into the very huge Mexican family and had to learn Spanish to know what my mother-in-law was saying. So it was learn Spanish or get talked about. And that was like, okay, I had trouble learning Spanish. And then I started figuring out ways to learn Spanish. And then from there, worked with some experts in the field and came up and created my own course and learning system that has a patent pending. And so not expecting that to happen, but I had my inspiration for why I was doing that. So, Claudia, do you have something like that inspired you that you remember to take action in this chosen career?
So yes, I would say definitely. So prior to taking on this role in inclusion, diversity, and equity, I actually applied for a role in transformation. The company was going through some significant changes, and they launched a transformation office. I had been prior to that role in sales communications for 8 years. I had been following the sales track and came to Richmond wanting to settle down. I had moved around a lot, and I kind of really wanted to just focus on my personal life. And so for 8 years, I stayed put. I put career on the back burner and family, forward, got married, had a son. And then after 8 years, as I was really working to solve significant challenges for the organization, and this transformation role came up, it was a little bit different because normally I had been tapped on the shoulder to say, hey, you're moving on to this role, or we'd like to offer you this role or this role. And this was a little bit different. You had to apply for this role, which, having been with the company for almost, 18 years at the time, like interviewing is just not something I was good at. It's not a skill. So, but I was passionate about it. And it was something that really inside of me said, you have to go for it. You have to pursue this, because it was really about changing the culture. And I was passionate about changing the culture at Altria. And so that's really kind of my turning point. I felt I was really good at developing solutions that were different, that really challenged people. And so, long story short, interviewed for it, got it. And because of how I showed up in that role, I was given the additional responsibility of inclusion, diversity, and equity. And that's kind of how all of this came together. But it was really my passion to change culture, to make Altria a different place, that kind of propelled me. And really inside me, I kept saying, you have to go for it. You have to go for it. And so I guess the story or the lesson is really, listen to that little voice inside of you and pursue your passion.
I think so. Listening to that inner voice, and I'm so glad you did, because what a difference you made within such a great company, but brought yourself to the table in a unique way to be a part of that. And I think that's like a really interesting piece that you had, like what sparked you, like how everyone has that little passion in there, that fire that's there, and sometimes we ignore it and then when you let it out, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. So Shirley, how about you? Like, what inspired you to take action? I know you had like many things, but is there something that sticks out for you specifically?
Well, of course, my kids are always my inspiration. They're resilient as well. But within the company, I will say 100%. And coming from such a small country, I see opportunity always in front of me, right? I see it from a different point of view. But like I said, for me, it's huge to keep learning from my mentors. So those mentors that I had in the company made a huge difference. Where now I look at myself long term and I want to be one of them when I grow up. I truly, just the way they changed my life, I want to change other people's life. And but I want to keep learning and then be a good mentor. That's really my goal. And that was my inspiration. Yeah.
I think, and that's a good one to have. And I know you are a good inspiration for a lot of us, and I think a lot of people listening today. And Raquel, how about you? Like, in what was that moment like inspired you to just take action on becoming this great entrepreneur and changing it up the way you did?
So when I was the brand manager for the mortgage company, I had to put myself out there. And it was interesting because when I first started on for instance, the platform of LinkedIn, I felt like I had to put on a certain persona, be very professional. So I wasn't myself. I wasn't really being true to who I am. And it wasn't until I slowly started showcasing my personality, being goofy, really being myself, that's when people started gravitating towards me, connecting with me, resonating with who I was. And so it was just kind of that light bulb moment of like, wow, people actually just want to see the real you, the true you, as opposed to what you think people want to see. So then essentially when I was inspired to start my own business, I called it True to You Branding, because I felt everybody should be able to have the freedom to be who they are with social media and with their brand. No one should have to pretend to be something they're not. And so that's essentially like where that inspiration came. And then from there, because I was really having to be true to who I was, I started opening up more about my past and about my depression, and how at UCLA I attempted suicide. And that was a really big part of my life that I kept secret because there was a lot of shame and stigma behind it. But now that I have a platform and I am being true to who I am sharing that story to now. It's allowing me to also kind of shift towards the mental health advocacy side. So I'm actually wanting to speak to teenagers and be able to travel in different schools. And so I'm using my business and just my brand to now kind of propel into that area. So I'm just actually in the midst of listening to myself, just like listening to that inner voice, listening to what my true passion is. And it really is to help the younger generation to be okay with who they are and love themselves, because naturally that's how we can change social media too. Because I want to be part of that evolution of people forgetting the filters, the editing, all of that. It's like really just show you. And so that's why when I show up on social media, I do all the bloopers, I show the background, anything that I mess up, no makeup, bedhead, I show it all because I want people to understand that that's how they should show up.
I think the authenticity that you always encourage is inspiring. And I think that makes a difference when you start being your authentic self and you're comfortable being your authentic self. Yeah. And I think, personally, people gravitate, like you're saying, more towards that. And it's making a difference. I know it is. And so I'm so glad that you are putting forth that presence. And I am working with the Latino students in the schools through the Passport to Education programs, the bilingual leadership. That's how they got started, was I was training the educators in educator Spanish and working in the schools, and started talking to the ESL teachers. And I saw how kind of a little bit of a lack of hope feeling a lot of the kids had in the middle school, like things weren't going to work out here. Just, this isn't, they just were coming here, a lot of them, they didn't speak English. It was just, my heart went out to them. And then I had the leadership training out at University of San Diego, and I was like, you know what, I can do something. I can make a difference here. I know I can. And then with the help of all the great leadership coaches, and being that inspiration for the kids and taking that program into the schools, it helped a lot of them move towards a better authentic self and be comfortable with who they were. And that's what we've kept trying to encourage. So and I think that's so important that you're doing this on the big scale on the social media for
Thank
folks.
you. Well,
Yeah.
I just love listening to Claudia and Shirley's story. I feel like we all are the same. We all want to make an impact. We all want to make a difference. We all want to do something that, for the better. And I think that in itself is so inspiring that we all want to do something good.
Yeah.
That's true, because like me, we have a lot of challenges, and we have failures, challenges, obstacles, but it's good to put yourself together, come back, figure out another strategy, and do something else, right? And that was actually one of my following questions. Claudia, within your experience, how were you able to successfully handle any challenge? If you remember that, any challenge, how did you handle that? And being Hispanic, being a woman, and within your career path.
So I would say two things have really helped me overcome challenges and any barriers, whether they be perceived or real. First, I always think about my mom, who came to this country, and the challenges, the immense challenges that she really, really experienced. Once she arrived here, shortly after she got divorced, so she had to raise us as a single mother. She didn't speak English. She was not a legal resident. I mean, you name it, all of the incredible challenges that she faced. And so when I think about her, she's my inspiration and also my kind of kick in the butt. Because when I think about all of her challenges, I think to myself, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. When I think about her and my situation, it's like, adelante. There's like really absolutely no excuse for me to feel like anything is insurmountable. What she experienced, I can't even imagine. I think I would seriously cry and crawl into a little ball if I had to experience her challenges. My challenges are nothing compared to her. So that's first perspective. And two is what Raquel said, which is really kind of acknowledging my strengths, and I call them my Latina strengths. We are really, really strong at certain things. They're innate in us. They're just naturally in us. Like the ability to empathize, the ability to build community and relationships, humility. All of those things are strengths, and I don't think we acknowledge them, but all of those have helped me really create, advocates and get mentors and sponsors, and, people that want to help and support me overcome challenges or push me forward. So those are the two things that I really leverage as perspective on, how the power of Latina women and the strengths that we innately have just from being, part of this wonderful community.
That's true. I was telling Lisa that, I mean, being Latina and coming from another country and learning English. In my case, I was telling Lisa, I failed the TOEFL like 5 times, but I finally made it to school. So yes, it's rewarding when you achieve a goal, but you also have a support system behind. And I feel like the common denominator for a lot of us is our family, or it's friends, or it's parents. So having that in mind, it's like it gives you fuel to keep going. What about you, Shirley? Any challenges that you face being Latina, being a woman?
Well, in my case, I come from a family of strong women, not just my mother, but my sisters. So coming here, it was not really hard for me. I never looked at myself any different. I think that starts within ourselves. I always position myself, hey, listen, we're all the same. And not just that, but from the perspective, like, I'm bringing value to the table because I'm bilingual. I can not only help the clients that speak English, but also speak Spanish. So I think from that regard, it wasn't that hard for me because, like I said, but of course I had other challenges. The language was super hard for me when I got here, and especially when you had to call people, and my accent was so hard to understand. So even my kids like, Mom, you have to say it this way. So language, and again, started my life from zero in this country 3 years ago, from nothing, right? With no college degree, no experience, and very little support system. Where I was a single mom, and I didn't have a family nearby to help me when I had to work, or my kids were sick, or things like that. But like they were saying, I think we have this superpower being Latina, that we're resilient, right? We always get up and keep going. And sometimes, believe it or not, the power of need, it keeps you going as well, you know? That power of I need to get up, I need to get up in the morning for my kids. But those were more my challenges. And like I said, within the company, I never ever let anybody, hey, we're all the same. And I think that's why they looked at me the way they look at me, you know, because but yeah.
That's true. I feel like confidence, it's a big and a strong resource, and a strong I'll say strength. Have confidence, because I'll tell you, Michelle Sayer, who's the chamber of the CEO of the chamber, he always put me into the webinars, and I go, oh, Michelle, I don't like to talk in public. It's a challenge. And I try to do my best, but
Sandra, I told her she has a beautiful presence, and all that she's learned English so well, and I know that for a fact, and I've seen her like flourish. And English is the hardest language to learn, so she's done so great, and you as well, Shirley. I mean, it's just
Yeah, and I can tell. Yeah, no, and the chamber is very, very supportive. So what about you, Raquel? What were some of the challenges that you faced? I know that you spoke and you say some of them, but if you can tell us.
Yeah, I mean, just like Claudia and Shirley were saying, I think there's something about us Latina women where my grandmother, she was widowed at the age of 37 with 4 kids under the age of 5. And my mom was an identical twin, and she moved out of the state that she grew up in. She wanted to go into the metropolitan city. So she went to Guadalajara from a small town, Tepic, and she did it all her own. She never ended up remarrying, never had a relationship. She literally just was like, I'm going to have my children have the best education, everything. So just looking at my grandmother and what she was capable of doing, and just not even my grandma, my great grandmother. I mean, yes, very strong women. So I feel like it is very innate in our genes. So there's something there about like, I can do this, right? So, I just look at the previous women in my life, and I think, just like Claudia was saying, this is nothing compared to what a lot of these women have had to endure. And so for me, a little bit of a challenge was just being in the mortgage industry among predominantly white males. That's where my struggle was a little bit. And so I think I spoke about it on another panel about how that kind of also propelled me to start my own business and just be my own boss, because I was like, I don't want to be put in a box all the time. I don't want people to assume it because I am female or because of this, that I should be in this type of role. And so that was something where I was like, nope, I don't, just like, don't put baby in a corner, don't put baby in a box. Yeah, so you just keep pushing through. I mean, we all do it. And Lisa, even though I know you're like a honorary Latina, you've got that fire in you too, and
I
that's
know.
great, for sure.
Exacto.
I think because I met the love of my life, Michelle, at age 20, and my mother-in-law helped finish raising me. My Mexican mother-in-law.
So you definitely have. You can tell you have it. You have it in you too.
Yes, exactly. So I lived up to all those expectations and learned, and she helped so much. She's a wonderful inspiration to me, as well as my mom too. So I've had two great moms. So now we wanted to know, like, what goals, like, do you set for yourself personally, maybe and professionally, and like what actions do you recommend, like some steps for someone who's maybe listening to us and listening to you all, and how you went for it and changed it up and added into a company and brought something unique to the table. If they want to maybe follow their dreams or create a different career of their choosing, like what would you suggest, like setting a goal for that, or how to maybe take those first steps with that, and like goals you like set, the standard you hold yourself to as well, those professional and personal. So Claudia, we'll let you go first on that one.
Sure. So, I would say that, as I shared earlier, I started my career in sales with a very defined career path by the company, which is great. Didn't, it doesn't require a lot of thinking. But you get to a point in your career where they're no longer going to hold your hand or tell you where to go. They really want to hear from you, which is great. It's empowering, but a little bit of challenging when you've been kind of down this trajectory where you didn't have to make those decisions. So, it's been something that I've really had to focus on over the last couple of years. And I would tell you that for me, the first step was kind of being courageous, being, I would say, putting myself out there and saying, yes, I deserve to be in that position like my peers, right? And so definitively deciding that you can do more and want to do more or deserve more is a huge step. Like, don't be shy to say, I want to be the CEO of the company in 15 years. Now, look, I'm not sure that that's realistic, but don't be afraid to say that if that is what you want. And I think we hold ourselves back because you're like, oh my God, that's not humble. That's just out of character. We shouldn't do that. But yes, you should do that. I think that's the very first and most important step in helping you achieve your goals, is putting it out in the universe. So I've done a lot of that. I've done, over the last 2 years, I've really focused on putting it out in the universe on what is it that I want to do and how I want to get there. And the next thing I would say is, doing your research and really showing up. I mean, for me, being in corporate America, it's about, continuing to get mentors, like Shirley says, mentors and advocates, and learning from them, and making sure that they see my work and that I am, sharing, putting myself out there with them. So it takes a lot of intentionality, I guess is what I'm saying. Be really intentional about the things that you're doing to get ahead. And obviously, jotting down goals never hurts. I start the beginning of the year with some professional goals and some personal goals, whether it be travel, places I want to travel. And I feel like if I don't make it a goal, I won't do it. I won't commit to it, or books that I want to read, or the number of books, or the exercise, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, all of those things show up at the beginning of the year as my goal. So make a list, write it down, and then be intentional, and don't be afraid to put it out in the universe.
Yeah, I agree about like not holding yourself back, because I think I've held myself back sometimes, growing. But the stronger I got within my authentic self, Raquel, I think that was when I was like, no, this is what I want, and I think that is such great. That's a great tip. Very good point, like for people to hear. So, Shirley, how about you? What would you like maybe to pass along, with a professional or personal goal that you might recommend to someone, or maybe help them to, follow the next step to a career path that they might want to take but haven't did yet?
Of course, like Claudia was saying, it's so important to put it out in the world. Like, don't be afraid to dream big and let everybody know about your dreams. And I do have a quick story, and I'm the living proof of that, because, like I said, I was all over the place when I started as an agent, trying to raise my kids, and I didn't understand what I was doing, what an impact would that make in my career years after. So I was a new agent, and I found out about the Latino market initiative in the company, and I was so excited about it. And I was visiting my sister in New York, and it happens that in New York City, there's the New York Life home office. And I was crazy enough, I sent an email to the head of the Latino market. She's one of the corporate vice president. And I said, her name is Liliana Canero. I said, Liliana, I'm from Paraguay. I know you're from Brazil. I'm super excited. I would love to meet you for lunch. I'm going to be in New York. And she said, yes, amazingly, she said, yes. And we met, and I'm like super excited. I said, Liliana, I'm new. I need advice, and I want to be a partner one day, because I found such good mentors in this company. And guess what? Years later, when this position opened in Northern Virginia, she thought of me because I was putting it out there in the world. Don't be afraid, because what's the worst that can happen, right? Don't be afraid. And always, it's so important to be genuine. It's always important to be genuine, to be true to yourself. And listen, when you make mistakes, we all make mistakes, and say, hey, listen, I made a mistake. Can you help me, right? So I think that's super important. Setting goals, always like it's everything starts here. 95% mindset and 5% strategy. So you have to write it down. You have to be grateful every day for everything you have in your life, and write your plan. Always write your plan. And like I said, in my life, my mentors made such a difference. Always find that person that knows a lot and you can learn, and be a better professional, right? And my other advice will be, and that's something I'm doing right now, is like I already put it out there. I want to be a partner in the company, so I'm putting myself. I'm keep studying, keep taking all the courses or certifications you need to keep learning, to keep growing in the company.
I think that's so great, like that to be gutsy, and
Sometimes you have to, yeah.
Right. I think, and that's perfect. That's perfect. And have that confidence. And even if you don't feel confident, act like you are, and make that phone call and say, hey, I want to meet you for lunch. I'm going to be in New York. That's perfect. I love that. Well, Raquel, how about maybe, what you think would be great, like for someone who wanted to make that career path change, or some goals professionally, personally, that you stick to, that help you to be your best self, and on that best self path, and to maybe to inspire someone?
Well, just like Claudia and Shirley, when Claudia said to be intentional, that's huge for me now, is to be very intentional with the people that I surround myself with. So I have to say, it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I realized that I was surrounding myself with people that were very toxic and were negative, and it wasn't healthy for me. And it wasn't until I had to recognize too what is good for me, and for my personal growth and professional growth, I had to align myself with people that were like-minded, that were going to lift me up, encourage me. And so when I did that, I started getting the guts, to reach out to people that you think might be at this level up here. But it's amazing how many times I've reached out to those type of people that you think are untouchable, and they'll respond, and they're actually so grateful and appreciative that you did reach out, because they also understand the severity of what it is, because they're not at a level where thinking like, wow, this person actually had no fear and just went for it. And then so they appreciate that trait in you as well. So it's, yeah, like I just found that the relationships and the people, and just like you ladies, the mentorship. I have a mentor too that I talk to, and I am just doing a lot more reading for personal growth as well. And as far as professional, I'm in a place where I used to not really listen to my gut and my heart or my intuition. And so I'm reading a book right now that my friend just wrote called Productive Intuition. And it's actually helping me because I was such a planner and I was such a, like, everything had to be perfect. And I realized that that wasn't working for me personally. So now I'm taking a different approach, which is more of like, let me just follow my heart. Let me do what feels right in the moment. Let me align with those people that feel right. And that, so far, it's been working out for me. So, sometimes, yeah, you just have to listen to yourself, because I think we're also in a place in a day and age where we have all these life coaches, motivational coaches, all these people telling you, this is what you should do. It's 1, 2, 3. And I think if we actually took the time to just quiet our minds and just step away and actually listen to ourselves, I feel like we would have a lot of the answers already right there. And so that's what I'm focusing on and letting myself be the true guide of my destiny, not somebody else, me. Taking control.
I think that is a definite theme today, right, Sandra, with everyone?
Exactly, that's true. I mean, I feel like I'm listening to the thing that I should do. I'm following everything that you're saying, and I mean, I'm in school right now. I'm trying to figure out what to study, where to go, what type of career should I follow long term, and it's just fantastic hearing all your input. It's very much appreciated. And I'm pretty sure that whoever listened to this, to us, will appreciate it too. It's very raw material that we can digest and take what works for us. So this conversation has been fantastic. Ha sido increíble. Y las conozco.
No, I feel inspired just by listening to other women. I think that's important too, right? As women, to really listen to each other, and it's not a competition. I think like society or whatever has put this kind of thing of like, we're supposed to compete or we're supposed to one up the other. And I think at the end of the day, if we realize that that's not the case, that we really are in it together, and if we help each other, we'll only empower each other even more to even do better and do even greater things. Like, so just listening to you women and being surrounded by you women, I want you to know that, like, I take a lot from this, just not the listeners, myself as someone on the panel. Like, I'm just as much inspired. So thank you.
Yeah, I know you. I feel it too in my heart. And Sandra and I, we had this vision for doing this, and so that we couldn't help inspire other people, and you three appeared, and you were the right three to be here to do this today. So we are so grateful that you took the time out of your schedules and your lives to authentically share yourselves with everyone today. So muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I agree with everything Raquel said. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Pues muchas gracias. Gracias por haberse reunido esta tarde. Thank you everyone for joining this evening, and we continue the conversation.
Yep. And we're still continuing with our job and career builder event. So we have more to come.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you everyone, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.